Hey everybody, this week in the Merchant Sales Insight, I talk about selling monster merchant accounts on cash discounting. Now, for the purposes of this content, we're describing a monster merchant account as generally being $50 million a year in revenue. The reason I wanted to do this, I actually worked with a good friend of mine, Dustin Wilkins. I've been doing consulting for his company, Dynamic Processing, for a while. And I've been consulting for him and helping him with getting the compliance and all the other kind of moving parts working with selling these humongous merchant accounts. And you're really going to want to actually read the Merchant Sales Insight or listen to the audio version on our podcast this week because it's such a big opportunity. It's really even, saying it in a video is almost unbelievable, So as an example, let me break the numbers down, rough math, okay? Let's say we have one of these, merchants. Let's say they've got, 100 locations, quick service restaurant, and they're doing $100 million a year in revenue, which is not that crazy. That means they're doing $1 million a year per location, 100 locations. That's $100 million a year. Well, let's say that they get set up with cash discounting at 3.5%, which I would say is kind of industry standard for these merchant types. Let's say that their costs, let's be conservative and say their costs are pretty high. Let's say the cost of interchange, card brand fees, et cetera, let's say it's 2.5%. Now that would actually be pretty high. It's usually going to be closer to 2%, but let's say 2.5% just to kind of make the math easy. So 3.5% revenue, right, on $100 million, 3.5% is 3.5 million. So that means you're going to bring in 3.5 million in fees. Your cost is 2.5%. So that's 2.5 million. So 3.5 million minus 2.5 million is $1 million. $1 million a year in profit margin on one of those accounts. Now, here's the mistake that I see agents and ISOs making with these types of accounts. They look at that and they get greedy and they say, $1 million at, whatever my current residual split is. Well, that's amazing. I'm going to make all this money. Well, no, you're not, because you're not going to sell it. And if you do sell it, you're not going to install it correctly, and they're going to cancel, or they're going to install the first 3 locations and not let you install anymore. So you're not going to get a percentage of that $1 million. You're going to get a percentage of, 200,000 or $1 million, or a few hundred thousand instead of the million. So what Dustin is doing, I really believe in what he's doing. I think it's a unique thing that our industry needs right now. And that is, his company is Dynamic Merchant Processing. They are only working with these monster merchant accounts. Okay. And when I say they're working with them, I want to be clear. I'm talking about Dustin is personally, I just talked to him yesterday. He was out in, I think, Arkansas or something. Like, he's literally flying out to the corporate location or flying to the franchisor's location and personally going in there with the sales representative that had the connection. And he is going in there and personally working with the CEO, selling the CEO. Then he's going and having the meetings with the chief financial officer to talk about how this is going to impact sales tax and revenue projections and company valuation and on down the list, reconciliation and accounting systems and all of that. He has a team of people that are experts at all these things with accounting and IT. So then they'll go to the chief technology officer and say, hey, what kind of point of sale system do you have? Okay, great. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how many developers we're going to need from your IT department to make a new feature on your point of sale system that's going to make this program compliant, right? Then he goes down to the legal counsel, to their in-house attorney or their third-party attorney. And the attorney says, how is this compliant with federal and state law? And how do we handle the visa rules and regulations? So these accounts could not be further from your normal experience selling a 5 to 10 location merchant or even a 1 location merchant. I mean, this is like a whole other thing. There's no way they're going to fly under the radar. That's not even a possibility for them. They're going to be getting issues. They're going to have to deal with them. Okay. So as you're going after these monster merchant accounts, understand the opportunity, which is like crazy. And in these cases where Dustin's working with these reps, yeah, Dustin and his team are taking a cut of the residuals in order to do these deals. But in the end, you're getting a percentage of $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year. It's a crazy, crazy opportunity. And again, having somebody like Dustin with his team literally doing all of the work. So I know this is a bit more of a, I don't know what you call it, a hard sell than what I would normally do for a processing company. But again, I want to be really clear here. I'm not recruiting for them. I'm not saying that you should be going to them to sell all your cash discounting deals or that this is the home where you want to go. Like, he wouldn't even accept you if you wanted to do that. Like, if you're trying to sell merchant accounts, don't call him. He's way too busy for that. That's not what he does. What I'm saying is, when you get that one deal a year or those 2 deals a year that are like monster accounts, and you realize that there is no way that you have the in-house capabilities to pull that deal off, might be a good idea to reach out to somebody like Dustin to get some information about it. Okay. So the opportunity is huge, but again, the challenges are really, really intense. Again, I would encourage you this week, if you're not on my email list, go to ccsalespro.com, download an ebook or something and get on my email list. Okay. And then you're going to start getting these merchant sales insights every week. But if you go to SoundCloud or the iTunes podcast app or Stitcher or any of these, you're going to be able to see the latest podcast episode where I just read the full version of the Merchant Sales Insight as kind of an audiobook version. Believe me, you're going to want to check the one out this week because it's just so interesting. It's such a huge opportunity. I truly believe, I know that there's going to be people watching this video that are going to reach out to me in 2 years and say, James, I increased my income last year by $500,000 because I watched that video. I went and worked with Dustin and I got a percentage of a, 200 million, 300 million a year merchant account. I just sent a rep over there 3 or 4 weeks ago. He reached out to me, a rep that I've talked to in the past, again, to be clear, has a very good credit card processor. A processing company that I would recommend. I mean, I'm not saying he's with a bad company. He's with a fantastic company, but he's with a company that specializes in helping individual agents sell small merchant accounts, And he's like, hey, I've got this deal. It's 440 locations. It's 600 million a year. And he's like, can you help me get this deal across the finish line? And I'm like, no, I can't. I said, I could, but I don't want to. I don't have the staffing for that. I don't have the accounting experts here. I don't have the legal counsel in-house to deal with all of this. I said, have a conversation with Dustin. And he's kind of like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. He's going to take a percentage of my cut. I don't know about that, And I'm like, are you doing the math on this? Do you realize how much 100 basis points on $600 million a year is? That's $6 million a year in margin. Wouldn't you rather get a percentage of that than to get none of it and take a chance on not getting the deal? So I convinced him to do it. He reached out to Dustin, had a great conversation. Dustin literally flew out, met with the CEO of the company where this agent had kind of an in with this guy. And they're moving forward. The ball is rolling and they're having some progress. I believe that they'll have the first 10 locations installed really soon. So, that's what I'm talking about. If that fits your description, if you think you have some opportunities, again, maybe right now you're like, I don't really need this. Okay, cool. Just keep this in the back of your mind. And if down the road you have that opportunity, you should reach out. So let me give you the web address and the email real quick. dmprocessing.com. Okay. So D as in dog, M as in Mary, DM for dynamic merchant, and then dmprocessing.com. You can email Dustin. It's Dustin@dmprocessing.com. Do keep in mind, Dustin is a really busy guy. He's flying all over the place doing these multi-location deals, has his team to manage. And again, do not reach out to him. If you're like, oh, that sounds like a good processing company, I think I want to sell for them. He doesn't want you, okay? Don't do that. What he's looking for is individual deals that are huge accounts where you know that your current processor or you yourself just don't have the bandwidth to get it done. If that's the case, you have a deal like that, just email Dustin@dmprocessing.com. If that's not you, just write it down on a pad or something, keep a note of it so that down the road, if you do run into a big account or a franchise that you feel like you could grow into, reach out and let them know. Hey, my name is James Shepard. Go sell some monster merchants on cash discounting and receive some life-changing residual income. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.